Did you know that in the year 1177 BC, civilization committed suicide? For centuries, the Bronze Age empires had thrived. Egypt, Greece, the Hittites, Babylon. They were rich, powerful, and connected. It was the world's first global economy. Tin from Afghanistan met copper from Cyprus to make bronze. Kings called each other brother, but the system was fragile. Ancient pollen samples tell us of a mega-drought that lasted centuries. Famine was already stalking the land. Hungry people rebel. The empires were rotting from the inside. They were weak. And then, the hammer fell. The Sea Peoples, a mysterious confederation of raiders. The Peleset, the Checker, the Shikalesh. History's Vikings, 2,000 years early. They didn't just raid. They migrated. They brought their families. They moved like a locust swarm, burning everything in their path. We still have the letters from the doomed city of Ugarit. My father, behold, the enemy's ships came, my cities were burned. The king of Cyprus replied, equip your troops. But it was too late. Ugarit was destroyed, its people enslaved or slaughtered. It was a domino effect. One civilization fell, cutting off trade, starving the next. The intricate network of the Bronze Age shattered. Only Egypt stood firm. Pharaoh Ramses III recorded his victory on the walls of Medinet Habu. He stopped the invasion, but at a terrible cost. He trapped their ships in the Nile Delta. Archers lined the banks. It was a slaughter, but the victory was the last gasp of an era. Egypt was bankrupt. The trade routes were dead. There was no tin to make bronze. The global economy had collapsed. The lights went out. In Greece, writing disappeared for centuries. The great palaces of Mycenae were abandoned to the weeds. The world entered a dark age. But from the ashes of the Bronze Age, a new material was beginning to emerge. Iron. And with it, a new world would be forged. But that is a story for part 2. Did you know that after the collapse, the world went silent? For 300 years, the great lights of civilization were extinguished. We call it the Dark Age. Writing was forgotten. The art of reading died with the scribes in the burning palaces. But in the darkness, there was opportunity. The giants were dead. The Hittites were gone. Egypt was a ghost. A power vacuum had opened. From the coast of Lebanon, a group of survivors took to the sea. The Phoenicians. They didn't have armies. They had something better. Purple dye, extracted from rotting snails. It smelled like death, but it was worth more than gold. They traded it to rebuild the world. And to keep their books, they invented a simple script. The alphabet, no longer the secret of priests. Knowledge could now be shared. But the biggest change wasn't ink. It was rock. Bronze required tin from halfway across the world. But iron is everywhere. It was harder to work. It required hotter fires. But once mastered, it changed everything. War was no longer just for the rich elites. Any peasant could dig up and make a spear. The age of the chariot was over. The age of the infantry had begun, and in the east, a new beast was waking up, the Neo-Assyrians. They combined the new iron weapons with a terrifying new strategy. Calculated terror. They didn't just defeat you, they erased you. They were the first true war machine of the Iron Age. Meanwhile, in the hill country of Canaan, a small tribal confederation was forming. They called themselves Israel. The old world of god-kings was gone. The new world was smaller, harder, and sharper. It was a world of iron and alphabets. Civilization had survived its suicide attempt, but the scars would remain. The innocent golden age was over. The board is reset. The players are ready, and the Assyrians are hungry. Join us for part 3, the Empire of Blood. Did you know that long before Rome, there was a war machine so perfect, it didn't just conquer nations, it ate them? Nineveh, the capital of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, a city of 100,000 people, the largest city on earth, and the most feared. They were the first professional standing army in history. Engineers, logistics, cavalry. They turned war into a science. Their greatest weapon wasn't iron. It was fear. They advertised their cruelty. I flayed their skins and covered the walls, boasted King Ashurnasirpal. If you resisted, you weren't just killed. Your entire population was moved. Millions of people were deported to serve the empire. Cities would surrender before a single arrow was fired. Resistance meant annihilation. Erasure. We see their brutal efficiency at the siege of Lachish. They built massive earthen ramps to roll their battering rams right over the walls. They crushed the kingdom of Israel. 10 tribes were marched away into exile, lost to history forever. Only Judah survived, barely. But they weren't just butchers. King Ashurbanipal was a scholar. He wanted to own all knowledge to predict the future. He built the world's first great library. Thanks to him, we have the Epic of Gilgamesh today. He collected every book in the world, but he couldn't save his empire. The empire grew too big. It had too many enemies. Everyone hated them. The Babylonians, the Medes, the Scythians. They formed a grand alliance, an unholy union of former enemies with one goal: kill the beast. In 612 BC, the Tigris River flooded, breaking the walls. The Medes and Babylonians poured in. The street fighting was apocalyptic. When Nineveh fell, the Bible says the trees of the forest rejoice over you. The world breathed a sigh of relief. The Assyrian Empire vanished so completely that 200 years later, armies marched past its ruins not knowing a city was ever there. But the vacuum was filled instantly by the victors, the Neo-Babylonians, and their king, Nebuchadnezzar. He has his eyes on a prize that Assyria couldn't destroy: Jerusalem. Join us for the finale, Part 4, The Fall of Babylon. Did you know that the Bible calls it the Whore of Babylon? But to its people, it was the gate of God, the center of the world. Nebuchadnezzar too, a builder king. He boasted, "Is this not great Babylon, which I have built?" He wanted his name to last forever. Legend says he built the Hanging Gardens for his homesick wife, a man-made mountain of green in the desert, one of the 7 wonders. But his legacy wasn't just gardens. In 587 BC, he destroyed Jerusalem. He burned the Temple of Solomon to the ground. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down and wept. The Jews were exiled, forced to live in the shadow of the ziggurat. But in exile, something incredible happened. They didn't vanish like the lost tribes. They wrote down their stories. The Torah took shape. They wrote songs of longing, the Psalms. They transformed from a nation of blood and soil into a people of the book. Nebuchadnezzar paid for his hubris. The book of Daniel says he went mad, living like a beast in the fields. But the empire survived for a while. The last king, Nabonidus, ignored the city's god, Marduk. He left the city to his son, Belshazzar. The people were restless. Belshazzar threw a feast while the enemy army was literally camping outside the walls. He toasted to his gods with the sacred vessels of Jerusalem. Then the hand appeared. Mean, Tekel, Upharsin. God has numbered the days of your kingdom and brought it to an end. The enemy outside wasn't Assyria. It was Persia, led by Cyrus the Great, a conqueror unlike any before him. Babylon's walls were impregnable, so Cyrus simply diverted the river. His army waded in through the water gates at night. They walked right into the feast. Babylon fell without a battle. The greatest city in the world changed hands in a single night. Cyrus didn't flay his enemies. He freed them. He issued the famous Edict of Cyrus. You may go home. You may rebuild your temples. The exiles returned to Jerusalem. They rebuilt the temple. The dark saga of the collapse, the iron and blood, had finally led to a new dawn. The Persian Empire would bring 2 centuries of relative peace. The Achaemenid Golden Age. The world was connected again. From the ashes of 1177 BC, through the fires of Assyria, to the glory of Babylon. Civilization is a phoenix. It burns, but it always rises. This concludes our saga of the ancient world.